A milestone celebration took a dreadful turn when the mother-in-law publicly shamed her daughter-in-law for refusing to gift her an apartment. Guests froze in stunned silence, witnessing the unfolding drama. However, the young woman remained composed. Brushing mayonnaise from her hair, she calmly produced a folder of documents and stated, "Ready to head to the notary?" Her husband chuckled smugly, believing his mother's tactic had succeeded. But their brief triumph was short-lived. Hello, dear listeners. I'm delighted to welcome you to my channel. I present a new and captivating story. Enjoy listening. Marina had always sensed her mother-in-law's disdain. Yet until the previous month, this animosity manifested only in typical minor annoyances, sidelong glances in the kitchen, critiques about under-seasoned borscht, and comments on insufficiently scrubbed floors. One could endure such things, nod along, smile, and pretend everything was fine. Inga Borisovna resided in her two-room apartment on the city's outskirts. She worked as an accountant in a semi-basement office and considered herself a victim of fate, believing the entire world owed her something. The government owed her a decent pension, her superiors, bonuses, her son, Dmitry, unquestioning obedience, and her daughter-in-law, Marina, everything else. Marina and Dmitry lived in a one-bedroom apartment that Marina had purchased before their wedding. She had saved for 5 years, working as a nurse in a private clinic, taking on extra shifts, and forgoing vacations. Upon receiving the keys, she wept in the hallway of the empty apartment. It was hers, entirely hers. Dmitry entered her life a year after she bought it. He was charming, cheerful, possessed a genuine smile, and had a habit of embracing her upon meeting. He rented a room from a kindly old woman, complained about his modest engineer's salary, and dreamed of owning his own place. Marina fell deeply and swiftly in love. 6 months later, they were married. At the wedding, Inga Borisovna sipped champagne slowly, frequently approaching Dmitry. "Are you sure? Have you thought this through? What if she's just using you?" Marina paid it no mind at the time, attributing it to her mother-in-law's nervousness about his new position. The first unsettling signs appeared a month after the wedding. Inga Borisovna began dropping by for brief visits that stretched into 3-hour affairs, during which she'd inspect the refrigerator. "It's rather bare," she'd lament, shaking her head. Quote, 3. Marina remained silent. Dmitry shrugged. Then came the conversations about the hardships faced by the elderly. Inga Borisovna, at 53, had already categorized herself as elderly and actively exploited this status. Quote 4, she'd sigh, looking at Marina. "Someone ought to look after me." Marina brought her groceries, assisted with cleaning, and paid her utility bills. One day, Inga Borisovna declared her apartment was too old, that the pipes were leaking and the plaster was crumbling. "If I had better accommodations, I'd give you my place," she said, looking Marina directly in the eyes, "but I have nowhere else to live." Marina remained silent, as did Dmitry. A week later, the mother-in-law arrived with a new proposal. "Listen, Marinka," she began sweetly, a stark contrast to her usual direct address. "You're an intelligent girl. You understand that family is paramount. I was thinking, perhaps you could transfer ownership of your apartment to me." She explained it was merely for her peace of mind, a guarantee for her future, assuring them nothing would change as they lived there anyway. Marina nearly choked on her tea. "What? It's just a formality." Inga Borisovna smiled, though her eyes remained cold. "Just gift me the apartment for my peace of mind. I'm Dima's mother. I'm practically family." "Mom, what are you even talking about?" Dmitry laughed nervously. "About fairness, son." Inga Borisovna raised her voice. "I raised you alone. Your father ran off when you were 3. I denied myself everything, and now I have nothing, while she has an apartment. It's not fair." Marina rose from the table. "Inga Borisovna, this is my apartment. I bought it with my own money." "Oh, with your own money." The mother-in-law narrowed her eyes. "So what? Are you going to rub it in my face now? You're greedy. Dmitri, what kind of wife do you have? Can you hear what she's saying? Dmitri remained silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. Marina escorted her mother-in-law out and refused to speak to her husband for 3 days. He offered excuses, claiming his mother was simply overwrought and didn't mean it. Quote 18, Marina reiterated. Quote 19, quote 20. Dmitri mumbled. Quote 21. But Inga Borisovna was not appeased. She called daily, arrived unannounced, and repeatedly brought up the issue of fairness. Quote 22. She hissed at Marina in the hallway when Dmitri went to the bathroom. Quote 23, quote 24. Marina responded wearily. Quote 25, quote 26. Inga Borisovna snorted. Quote 27. Marina began avoiding her mother-in-law. When Inga Borisovna rang the doorbell, Marina didn't open it. When she called, Marina rejected the calls. Dmitri grew agitated, accusing her of being heartless, but Marina held firm. She wants to take my apartment, she repeated. I won't allow it. Then a full-blown war erupted. Inga Borisovna announced that her 54th birthday was in November, and she intended to celebrate it. Just a small gathering, she told Dmitri. You, Marina, my sisters, nothing extravagant. Dmitri promised they would attend. Marina nodded, but a knot of dread tightened in her stomach. She sensed something unpleasant was brewing. A week before the celebration, Inga Borisovna became sickeningly affectionate. She called, inquired about their well-being, and asked about work. Marina's responses were terse. She didn't trust the sincerity of these conversations. Marinochka, the mother-in-law purred into the phone 3 days before the party. You know, I've been thinking. We got off to a rocky start. Let's begin anew. Come over. Let's sit and talk. I want peace in our family. All right, Marina said, not believing a word. And you know what would be the most wonderful gift for me? Inga Borisovna paused. If you gifted me your apartment, at least, draw up a deed of gift. It would be so symbolic. A new chapter in our relationship. Marina silently hung up. That evening, she told Dmitri she wouldn't attend the birthday party. He jumped up from the sofa. Marina stated, quote 40, quote 41. Dmitri ran a hand nervously through his hair, quote 42, quote 43. He took her hands. Quote 44, Marina looked at her husband and suddenly realized she was exhausted. Exhausted by the constant talk of her mother-in-law, her calls, the relentless pressure. She just wanted a peaceful life, to work, come home, and not worry that someone was trying to take away the only thing she had earned herself. Quote 45, she exhaled. Quote 46, Marina arrived with a bouquet of chrysanthemums and a box of chocolates. Inga Borisovna greeted them in a new dress with bright makeup and a radiant smile. Quote 47, she exclaimed, hugging Dmitri and barely acknowledging Marina. The apartment was already filled with the presence of the mother-in-law's 2 sisters, both ample, boisterous, and possessing similarly predatory eyes. They appraised Marina with a glance, exchanged looks, and then returned to their plates. The table was laden with food. Inga Borisovna had apparently spent all her savings on the celebration: salads, charcuterie, hot dishes, and cake. Marina sat on the edge of her chair, trying to remain inconspicuous. The first toast passed without incident, as did the second. At the third, Inga Borisovna stood, raised her glass, and suddenly turned to Marina. I have a special word for my dear daughter-in-law, she began, and Marina's blood ran cold. Marinochka, you know how much I value you. You're a smart, hard-working girl, and I believe you understand that family is paramount. The mother-in-law's sisters stopped chewing and fixed their gaze on Marina. Quote 50. Inga Borisovna continued, her voice trembling with feigned emotion. Quote 51. Marina slowly placed her fork on the table. Quote 52. Quote 53. The mother-in-law's voice escalated. "You just kept saying no, as if I were a stranger, as if I didn't deserve it. Mom, please calm down." Dmitri tried to stand, but Inga Borisovna stopped him with a gesture. "I will not calm down. I want justice. I want her to finally understand that she owes me." "I don't owe you anything," Marina said quietly. "You owe me!" Inga Borisovna shrieked. "You stole my son. You live in your apartment like a queen while I'm in this hovel. It's unfair. Mom, enough." Dmitri stood up, but his voice lacked conviction. "I won't stop until she understands." Inga Borisovna stepped towards Marina. "Will you give me the apartment now, or are you no longer my daughter-in-law?" "I will not give it." Marina also stood. "You will?" At that moment, Inga Borisovna grabbed Marina's hair and forcefully shoved her face into the Olivier salad. Mayonnaise, peas, and chunks of sausage smeared across her cheeks and clogged her nose. Marina gasped for air, trying to break free, but her mother-in-law held on tightly. "Quote 65, Inga Borisovna hissed, pressing Marina's face deeper into the salad. "Will you?" Dmitri lurched forward, but one of the aunts grabbed his arm. "Don't interfere, let them sort it out," she grumbled. Marina sharply pushed her mother-in-law away, straightened up, and shook the mayonnaise from her hair. Her face burned. Tears welled in her eyes, not from pain, but from humiliation. Inga Borisovna stood opposite, breathing heavily, her eyes wild. "Well," she spat. Marina wiped her face with a napkin, reached into her bag, and retrieved a folder of documents. She placed it on the table next to the salad. "Ready to head to the notary?" she asked calmly. Inga Borisovna froze, then slowly smiled. Dmitri let out a relieved, joyful laugh. "Oh, Mommy, your tactic worked." Inga Borisovna opened the folder with trembling hands, picked up the first sheet, and began to read, her face turning ashen. "What is this?" she croaked. Dmitri peered over her shoulder and his smile vanished. He snatched the paper, his eyes scanning the lines. "What is this nonsense?" Marina calmly wiped her hair with another napkin. "This is a divorce petition," she stated, "and a report to the police. My phone's camera recorded everything, by the way." Inga Borisovna sank into a chair. You wouldn't dare?" "I would." Marina took back the folder. "And these are the apartment documents. As you can see, I am the sole owner, and in my will, upon my death, the apartment passes to my sister, Olga. So you can forget about it." Dmitri clutched his head. "Marina, what are you doing? This is a joke." "There is no joke." She looked at him, her eyes devoid of anger or pity. "For 3 months, your mother has been trying to take my apartment. For 3 months, you've been silent. And today, she shoved my face into a salad, and you just stood there and watched. Mom, say something to her." Dmitri turned to Inga Borisovna, but she sat with her gaze fixed on the table. "There's nothing more to say." Marina picked up her bag. "I'll file the divorce papers on Monday. You can collect your belongings any time." "Wait!" Dmitri lunged at her, grabbing her arm. "Marin, please wait. We love each other." "We love each other?" She gave a wry smile. "Do you love your mother? Because I don't. If you did, you wouldn't have let her humiliate me." "I didn't let her," he insisted. "You were silent, and that's the same thing." She walked out of the apartment without looking back. Behind her, shouting erupted. Inga Borisovna wailed something. Dmitri responded. The aunts chimed in with their comments. Marina descended the stairs, stepped outside, and inhaled the cold November air. Her hands trembled. Peas were still lodged in her hair, but she was free. The next day, Dmitri called 20 times within an hour. Marina didn't answer. He sent messages, quote 90. Marina deleted them, not reading them to the end. A week later, he appeared at her apartment with a massive bouquet of roses. Marina opened the door, took the bouquet, and shut the door in his face. She tossed the roses into the disposal chute. 2 weeks later, Inga Borisovna called. Her voice trembled. She wept, begging for forgiveness. She sobbed. Marina asked. Marina disconnected the phone. The divorce was swift. Dmitri offered no resistance, merely sat at the hearing with a blank expression, staring at the floor. Inga Borisovna accompanied him and tried to approach Marina, but Marina turned and left. The apartment remained Marina's. Dmitri moved in with his mother. March swept into the city with wet snow and the first signs of thawing. Marina was returning from work when she spotted Inga Borisovna at the supermarket checkout. She stood with a plastic basket containing cheap pasta, bread, and a carton of milk. Her jacket was worn, her hair unwashed, her shoulders slumped. Upon seeing Marina, she paled and tried to turn away, but it was too late. "Hello," Marina said coldly. "Hello?" Inga Borisovna swallowed. "How are you?" "Fine, that's good." They stood in silence for a few seconds. Then Inga Borisovna lowered her eyes. "Dima is living with me now," she mumbled. "He's out of work. He just lies on the sofa all day. He says I ruined everything." "Yes," Marina nodded. "You did." "I didn't want to." "Yes, you did," Marina interrupted. "You wanted to take my apartment and thought you'd get away with it." Inga Borisovna sobbed, grabbed her basket, and fled. Marina watched her go, paid for her purchases, and stepped outside. The snow turned to slush underfoot. On her way home, she stopped at a pet store and bought a new scratching post for her cat. In the evening, her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. It was Dmitri. "Mom is sick. She needs money for medicine. Please help." Marina read it, blocked the number, and returned to a magazine with bathroom tile samples. Light or gray? Perhaps light. The cat purred, curled up on her lap. Outside, water dripped from the roof. Marina leaned back against the sofa and closed her eyes. There would be no more shouting in this apartment, no more humiliation, no one to make her justify what she had earned herself. She smiled and scratched the cat behind its ear. He squeezed his eyes shut in pleasure, his purr growing louder.